So, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good. Where are you at the moment?
I'm in Poland in my room.
I was thinking I expected you to be Polish.
No, I'm teaching English in Poland.
How's that?
It's really fun. I've been here for just over a year. And yeah, I love living abroad. But really, I think my dream is to teach English in China. So that's
Hmm.
why I'm learning Chinese.
Why did you choose Poland?
Um, I didn't really choose Poland. I did this TEFL course, and then I was looking for my first job anywhere in Europe, and I applied to lots of different schools, but this was the first one I got offered a job at, and so I just took it, and I've loved it. But yeah, I didn't know anything about Poland before I came. It was just one of those countries I'd never like considered going to before. It was
Yeah,
really nice.
I would love to go there. Poland. I want to go to all these Eastern European countries. Like Hungary,
Yeah.
Poland. They're,
Yeah, the
they're
language is very difficult though, and I did
yeah.
try to learn it at first, but then when I started learning Chinese, I was actually even getting confused between the two, even though they're
Hmm.
nothing alike. I'm not learning Polish at the moment, but
Fair enough. I mean, I remember I lived in Vietnam for over a year,
mhm.
and I still don't, I hardly remember how to say excuse me still. I only learned like a few words, which is really bad living there a year,
Yeah,
but it was just
yeah.
so difficult,
Mhm.
pronunciation wise, and I was always like had one foot out the door. I was like on my way to China, and I ran out of money. That's why I ended up staying there. And I was like, oh, I'll leave next month. Oh, I'll stay another 3 months because
Oh,
it's real lot. It's a
yeah.
lot of fun, and so I didn't have that, I didn't have that sort of investment. Didn't want to put the time in. So you're in Poland. You're studying Chinese in Poland.
Yeah.
Is that tough? Is that with the because the environment can help sometimes? Like being in China, for example, helped
Mhm.
Phil and I sort of. I think it definitely helped somewhere, like keep the motivation to continue. So, what's
Yeah.
it like learning Chinese in Poland by yourself?
It's quite strange. I mean, my flatmate finds it amusing. She's Polish. Um, But I think I've just got into a habit now of trying to do an hour every morning. So it's become just like a routine for me, and it's yeah, not so strange.
Right. Okay. So good. Fantastic. So give me a little bit of a self introduction if you don't mind. Just,
Mhm.
so we know you're living in Poland.
Yeah.
So just introduce yourself. Like, how did you end up coming to study Chinese? How did you end up where you are? Why don't you just give us a brief intro?
Okay. So I learned a bit about Chinese history at school, and I found it really interesting.
Mm,
And I started reading novels, or like memoirs from China, like Wild Swans, I think is a popular one.
mm,
Um, and I made some Chinese friends when I was at university. And so I've always had this interest in China.
mm.
And recently I just felt like I really want to go there. And I thought it would be a good idea to try and learn the language,
Mm.
just to find out more about the culture. Um, and at first, well, when I was at school, I tried to learn French. And I think I believed that I was never really very good at languages, but I think it was more the way it was taught. It was taught
Mm.
using very an old-fashioned system, and it really didn't work for me. So I've always had this sort of belief I'm not good at learning languages.
That's so
And
common.
yeah, um, so I mean, I tried using all these apps because also teaching here, I didn't have time to go to lessons
Mm.
because I often teach in the evenings, which is when the language classes are. So I use like Duolingo and Memories. Um, but I think I knew that I didn't know what I was doing, like how to learn a language.
Yeah.
Um, and it was hard to find the motivation to do it every day because I didn't really feel like I was making much progress or like it was going to get me anywhere.
Yeah.
But then I was, I actually found your course on YouTube because I was researching how to pronounce a particular sound in Chinese. And
Right.
then I found your video explaining like, exactly where to put your tongue and everything.
Mm, mm.
And that's how I came across the course. It was trying to find the pronunciation.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Like with and it's such a shame because I had a similar experience at
Mm.
school. Like I always did okay in languages, but I
Mm.
was just like most subjects, to be honest, for me, it was just sort of going through the motions and these. Yeah, okay, we've done with this textbook, children. Now it's on to the next textbook, and
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I guess I'm one level better then. All right, brilliant. And then don't actually know anything or can actually use anything.
Yeah.
And I remember I studied Spanish. Sorry, I studied French for 4 years. It was
Mhm.
studied. I'm doing air quotes right now, but then I stud then, but my Spanish was always better. And the reason was, even though I never studied it in school, because I went to holiday to Spain every year for like 4 years,
Yeah.
and like that 1 or 2 weeks, like every now and then, like speaking with a local,
Yeah.
did so much better for me than those 4 years of classes. It's crazy, and it gives people that sort of the way they teach, and again, in my experience, and obviously yours as well, the way they teach in those
Mm.
classrooms, it's
Mm.
so bad, and it makes you feel like you suck when it's not the case at all. It's such a shame. So,
Yeah.
um, I'm glad you found us anyway. So, tell me about your goals with Chinese are what exactly? Do you have any yet that you've laid out where you want to get to with Chinese?
Mm, I'm not sure. I came across a scholarship in
Mm,
China where you can study a degree in Chinese in China.
mm,
And I would have to start it next September because after that I'd be too old. Like there's an age
right,
um,
right,
limit.
okay.
Um, so I suppose I would have to be, I think, the HSK level 5 to get
Hmm.
that, which is quite ambitious. But I mean, I can see how far I get. Um, that was kind of a goal. I'm still not sure if that's what I really want to do though, but I think it's good to have a goal like that. I want to achieve a certain level of fluency.
Yeah, and
Mm,
the HSK, you said you want to pass the HSK 5, is that right?
yeah.
Right. Yeah. The HSKs, as me and Phil, like Phil and I, we have our criticisms of the HSK, the whole system, and the word list they use and stuff. But one thing I'll say about the HSKs is that they're really good benchmarks. It's
Mm,
really good to have goals like that, and that's what they help with. And we're trying to get to the point where we're trying to develop the Mandarin Blueprint method to the point where someone could pass the HSK 6 in a year. Like that's
wow.
our goal. I mean, it's a crazy goal. It sounds crazy, but
Yeah.
that's you got to have lofty goals. Even as course creators and
Yeah.
people that are taking
Yeah.
the course as well. So that's something that we'd like. And yeah, I'd suggest that you stick with that as a goal. It's really good.
Mm.
Step HSK 5. Um, what would it mean for you personally? Like, so if you get to the point where you can actually get to the point where you can read a Chinese novel. Are you much of a reader? Do you like to read?
Yeah. I like reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you imagine like what sort of thing you into? Do you like is it more like fiction, like novels, or is it comics, or what is it that you like to read?
Um, well, I like the novels,
Mm.
or even memoirs, like real stories from people in China.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah. So I mean, imagine being able to. I mean, one of the because I like I was a massive reader as a teenager, and then I just sort of dropped off. Funnily,
Mm.
university actually was detrimental to my reading, but and then I've recently found reading to be. I've got back into it again, and
Yeah.
I've got into all the stuff I used to love, but this time in Chinese. So that's something that you've got to look forward to if you keep progressing as well. So
Yeah.
what would be the first sort of thing you'd like to be able to consume in Chinese? Would you watch it? Would it be a certain type of book, or would it be, say, a TV show, a movie? What sort of thing would you think you'd be have
Um,
the most fun consuming in Chinese?
Maybe like Chinese TV and films, because I think you can learn so much more about a culture when you
Mm,
can see like what the local people would watch.
mm,
I think it would open up a whole new world.
absolutely.
Um, yeah, and just being able to talk with people as well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
That's what it's all about is meaningful connections with people. That's number one, I reckon. You know, and
Yeah.
being able, yeah, just to be able to consume engaging native content, which again is kind of connecting with people, the Chinese people as well, isn't it?
Mm.
So that's really cool. So you've got some good goals. So getting actually into the specifics of the course here. So where are you at the moment in the course?
I've done the pronunciation course and I'm on level 9 of the Mandarin Blueprint method.
Okay. So how many characters is that? Let me try and think. Is it like 80? 80 characters or
Um,
something like that?
I think it's more like 60 or 70, I think.
60 or 70, right. So how are you finding the method at the moment? Like, because that's quite a nice chunk of it in, isn't it? So, how are you finding it compared to when you started out?
It's becoming a lot easier now. Like at first, I couldn't remember like if it was the set or the tone or the actor that like what meant what. But now it's coming a lot quicker,
Mm, mm,
and it's very exciting to um, like to see it work when I'm reviewing my cards in Anki. And at first, I see a character and I've got no idea, but then I can like sort of one thing jog my memory, and then I can quickly work it out what it
mm.
means, and it's very encouraging.
That's quite fun, isn't it? Like when you thought, what? You got no idea 1 second, and then you think about your bathroom, and then it
Yeah,
all comes running back to you. Yeah.
it comes back.
That,
Yeah, it's amazing.
that's great. Because so, had you ever done anything like this before, or any kind of sort of visualization or advanced sort of memory palaces, mnemonic systems, or anything like that?
No, no.
Okay, very interesting. So, what would you say were the three? And don't worry if you can't think of three, but we always ask, what would you think would be the three parts of our system, whether it's the characters or whatever the pronunciation, or what have made the biggest impact on you personally?
Mm. I think the pronunciation mastery course was one of the most important, especially because both yourself and Phil are English native English speakers, and
Mm,
you can describe exactly like where to put your tongue and how to pronounce these difficult syllables.
mm, mm.
I think that was priceless, really. I couldn't find anything else like that online, or and when I'm learning by myself as well, that was really key.
Fantastic.
And I think Anki is another really important aspect of the course, just in terms of not forgetting what you've learned. I think if it was up to me to try and remember everything I was learning,
Mm.
like I would get so stressed, and whereas I can sort of just trust Anki and yeah, trust that that will help me not forget, and it does. It works.
Yeah, the flashcards, we really put some time into that to make sure that not only that to encourage you to use it, but it's
Mm.
we laid it out like the fields, the images, the notes from your personal life, things like that. Have you made many? So you're learning characters really well. You've gotten to like over 60 characters now. What about words? Have you started to learn any word cards yet? Use the Anki for that yet?
Yes, they have started coming up as well, so I'm
Okay.
learning them.
How have you started choosing your own images for them and things like that?
Yes, yeah.
How's that working out for you?
It's working well. At first, it was a bit more difficult because I felt like, whoa, it's up to me now. Um, but yeah, it's working. And sometimes I don't remember them, and then I realize, oh, I need to visualize this more or think of more connections to this word. But then it feels good when it does work.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So you mentioned two aspects of the pronunciation and Anki. Is there any other aspects to the Mandarin Blueprint method itself that have been very impactful on you, like very very key for your progress?
I think all the tips that we get, like I think the first month I was part of the Mandarin Blueprint, we would get emails, I think daily motivational emails,
Mm, mm,
and that was really key. And just like the life tips on how to make something a habit was really good.
yeah.
Um, and just like the all the review videos, and like keeping your motivation up,
Hmm.
and like stressing that it's so important to keep up with Anki and just to do something every day, like even if it's very little, just 5 minutes. It's so important to do something every day. Really helped.
Fantastic. Yeah. In terms of learning a language, I assume it's the same with any language, but especially one as different from English as Chinese.
Mm,
Developing and maintaining a consistent habit is just as
yeah.
difficult, if not more difficult, than the actual language itself. You're your own worst enemy in a lot of cases, aren't you? Like,
Yeah.
so that's sort of the biggest thing you've got to overcome, which is, yes, I'm glad that you're doing that. That's brilliant. So that's absolutely fantastic. We've got, what results have you achieved so far then? So we've got like, and not just, not just in terms of tangible things. Less tangible could also be more personal. But what would you say that you have achieved from being on the Mandarin Blueprint Method course or the pronunciation course? What actual noticeable things that have improved for you?
Um, I think I've learned how to learn a language,
Mm,
like understanding that pronunciation is so important, and actually that learning lots of grammar rules isn't so necessary as I thought. And that the fastest way to pick up a language is by absorbing information, like reading and listening, is more important than speaking. So I think that's really invaluable. Um, and also the sense of achievement in learning such what I thought was such a difficult language, and it is difficult, but it's possible. Um, and like um, also trying to explain the method to other people was quite funny, and trying to like I showed my parents one of the characters I was learning, and I tried to explain the different components, and it was very funny. So it's nice being able to share it with other people as well.
It is, it is. But that's one of the things that when we were first starting out, we were like, because we were making so many, what would you say? We were making so many updates and changes to it, and basically making it our own, and developing it, and we've put forward a patent process for the whole system as well now. So we were, at the beginning, we were like, oh no, what if someone steals the idea? Like we get but we weren't really worried because we'd have our students like try and explain it. She was like, one student came up to us, she's like, yeah, I tried to explain the method in a bar to someone, and they were just called me mental. So we're not really, we just stopped gradually. We just stopped worrying about people trying to steal the idea because it just sounds so
Yeah.
crazy trying to explain. It's not really very intimidating to a competitor. They're like, oh, oh, those crazy people. Yeah, not really worried about those guys. So,
Yeah.
but the fact that
It's
you've
quite
learned how to learn
complicated.
languages is great. Sorry, what were you going to say?
Like it's quite complicated until you really start doing it. Like the amount of effort you have to put into just one character at first, it sounds crazy.
Yeah.
Thinking of all these things, but
Well, that leads me on to my next question very nicely, which is, what were you skeptical about?
um, yeah, I think maybe if my own imagination would be enough to do this
Mm,
method, um, was one thing, but that hasn't been a problem. And the other was how fast you believed that someone could achieve fluency in Chinese, like
mm.
within like 9 months, I think, if you put in an hour every day. As it was advertised, and I found that like, whoa, really? Um, but
How
it
did
makes
yeah.
sense. Like if you can watch so many videos a day, then you
Mm.
can learn so many characters. Then yeah, actually, it probably is possible.
Right. So what do you think about that now in terms of, because you obviously you haven't got to the end of the course. You're
Yeah.
still in the, in the early stages, but
Mhm.
would you say that that is sort of a more realistic goal for you now?
Yeah, I think so. I think sometimes I need to be more strict with myself. I don't always get an hour in every day. So for
Mm.
me, it's not realistic to think that I will achieve it in 9 months if I don't put in an hour every day. But I think it is. It is possible.
That's great to hear. Anything else at all? So we've got you're skeptical about the, we actually break it down, don't we? We say you can do it in as little as 3 months if you put in three
Mm.
hours a day and all that. So
Yeah.
I can completely understand that. What about the actual method itself? Like especially when it comes to the character learning, because in fact, do you know what's really funny? I got an email this morning
Mm.
from someone who's in level one, it was just, she sounds like a lovely person. She's just like, I don't know if this is for me. So what I'm and that is completely understandable because it's just so
Mm.
different from anything else. And it seems like a lot of work up front for
Mm.
small gains, right? But then those gains become
Yeah.
much bigger later. So basically, what would you say to someone that's in that position, starting out and having a similar sort of experience? What would you say to them
I
in that
think
case?
you do have to persevere through the early levels, and like I did have to keep going back and reminding myself, like, oh, so the actors are they represent the initials and the sets, the finals. I did have to keep reminding myself of what each part meant,
Mm,
but then it does get like quickly because you're doing it over and over and over again.
mm.
It does become a lot quicker. So I think you have to trust the method and yeah, persevere through the early stages and know that it will get easier.
That's going to be really helpful. Um,
Yeah.
that's great. And what would you recommend about it specifically, the method, and why?
Um, I think that it's fun. Like you're not just copying out characters over and over and over again.
Mm.
You can like make up funny stories in your head about people from your own life. Um, so it's not boring. It's really fun. I think that's what I would really recommend about this method.
Wonderful. Thank you. And yeah, so I mean, that's really it, really. I mean, that's all we wanted to hear from you. I mean, is there anything else that, like, we just wanted to see how you're doing and what's your feedback? Is there anything else that you would want to add? So, for example, we've had a lot of positive words from you. Is there anything that you think we could improve on when it comes to the method?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, no.
No, I'm very happy with the course.
We are not paying Abigail to say that. She almost sounds too nice now. But that's brilliant. Okay, well, I mean, I think we'll just leave it there. That was
Yeah.
brilliant. Is there anything else at all you want to add? Anything else for people out there, or like a final message, if you like, for people listening to this that maybe on the fence about giving a shot?
Um, yeah, I think it's just really worth going for it. And I think it's made a real big difference to my life because I do my Chinese like first thing in the morning, and I just feel like I've done something productive and good at the
Mm,
start of every day.
mm.
And language learning is good for your brain. So even if you don't end up going to China, I mean, it's just a good thing to do. Um, yeah, I definitely
Fantastic.
recommend it.
Oh, thank you very much, Abigail. You've been awesome. And I think we'll just leave it there. So, guys, if you want to try it out and you're not on the course yet, we have a free course available. And we also have a 90-day guarantee now. So you can take the course, pay money for whatever package you fancy. And after 89 days, you just decide you don't want it anymore. We'll rush your money back to you. So give it a shot.